I only closed my eyes for a second, or at least that is what it felt like. But when I woke up, my head was resting on a stranger's shoulder. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then the sound of the plane engines rushed back into my ears, and my heart almost jumped out of my chest. I pulled away fast, heat flooding my face. I, Clara Whitmore, CEO of a fast-growing tech company, had just fallen asleep on a random man during a flight. This was not supposed to happen to someone like me, ever. But that moment changed everything. A few hours earlier, I had been walking through Logan Airport like I always did, fast and focused. My heels hit the floor in sharp rhythm, my briefcase swinging by my side. People stared, some whispered, others moved out of my way. At 29, I was used to it. Founder, CEO, successful, powerful. That is what they saw. What they didn't see was how tired I really was. I told my team I was flying to Seattle for a tech conference. That part was true, but I didn't tell them the real reason. I needed space. I was running from boardroom tension, from investors questioning me, from a penthouse that felt cold and empty. I had built everything I ever wanted, but somehow I still felt alone. My phone buzzed nonstop as I walked. Emails, deadlines, demands. Everyone wanted something from me. No one asked how I was doing. I told myself love was a weakness. Feelings were distractions. I had no time for them. Then, just before my gate, I crashed into someone. Papers flew everywhere. My lipstick rolled across the floor. I sighed in frustration and bent down to pick everything up. The man did the same, apologizing over and over. When our fingers touched, grabbing the same paper, I looked up, ready to snap at him. But I stopped. His eyes looked tired but kind. Not weak, just worn, like someone who carried a lot on his shoulders. For a second, the noise around us faded. Then the boarding call played again, breaking the moment. We both stood up quickly. I shut my briefcase. He grabbed a small red toy airplane from the floor and held it tight, like it meant something. We walked away in opposite directions, just two strangers at gate 17. I had no idea he would soon matter so much to me. On the plane, I found my seat and froze. The same man was sitting by the window. The red toy airplane was in his hand again. My stomach twisted. I almost asked the flight attendant for another seat, but the plane was full. So I sat beside him. I opened my laptop right away, building a wall between us. Numbers, reports, emails. Work always helped me feel in control. I typed fast, pretending I didn't notice him, but I did. He kept rubbing the toy airplane with his thumb, like a habit. He looked at it with a soft smile. Not proud, not silly, just gentle. It confused me. Men in my world didn't carry toys, they carried egos. The plane took off. Boston disappeared under us. My eyes burned from the screen, but I forced myself to keep reading the same line again and again. I hadn't slept properly in days. Coffee and stress were my only fuel. My head felt heavy. Just 1 minute, I told myself, just one breath. Then the plane shook slightly, and everything went dark. When I woke up, my cheek was on his shoulder. I panicked. I jumped up, brushing my jacket, seeing a small wet spot on his shirt where I had drooled. I wanted to disappear. I never lost control like this, not in public. "I'm so sorry," I started, but he smiled softly and raised his hand. "It's okay, honestly. No one's used me as a pillow in a long time. I'll take it as a compliment." His kindness shocked me. No anger, no teasing, just warmth. Something inside me loosened. I laughed quietly, surprising myself. Then I nodded at the toy. "Do you always travel with an airplane?" He smiled bigger. "It's not mine, it's my son's, Ethan. He made me take it, said it would help the real plane fly safe." My chest tightened. The way he said his son's name was different, full of love. I closed my laptop without thinking and leaned closer. "So you're not going on vacation?" He chuckled. "Job interview in Seattle, trying to start over." Before I could ask more, his phone buzzed. His face changed. "My neighbor says my son's fever went up," he said quietly. My heart dropped for a boy I didn't even know. Then the plane shook hard, turbulence. People gasped. Without thinking, I grabbed his arm. He covered my hand with his. "It's okay. Planes can handle this," he said. I should have pulled away when it stopped, but I didn't. Neither did he. For a few seconds, we just sat there, hands together, strangers connected in the sky. That was the moment I felt it. Something different, something real, and I had no idea it was only the beginning. His phone buzzed again, sharp and loud in the quiet cabin. I felt his hand tighten around mine before he slowly pulled away. The color drained from his face as he read the message. "What is it?" I asked, already scared by the look in his eyes. "Mrs. Alvarez called an ambulance," he whispered. "Ethan's fever hit 104. They took him to the hospital." The words felt heavy, like they dropped straight into my chest. I didn't even know his son, but my heart hurt for him. I watched his hands shake as he typed a reply. He kept swallowing like he was trying to keep himself together. "How long until we land?" he asked quietly. I checked my watch even though I already knew. 2 hours. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, pressing his hands together like a prayer. "I should be there. He needs me. What if something happens and I'm not there?" His voice cracked, and I didn't try to stop it. Instead, I turned toward him fully. "Tell me about him," I said. He looked confused. "About Ethan?" "Yes," I said softly. "Tell me who he is." At first, he hesitated. Then something inside him broke open. "He said his first word was airplane," Daniel smiled sadly. "Guess that explains the toy. He used to love dinosaurs, but now he's obsessed with space. Saturn is his favorite. He knows how many moons it has. He wears a Superman cape to the grocery store, says heroes don't take days off." I smiled through the tightness in my throat. "He laughs with his whole body. When he draws, he sticks his tongue out like he's solving a huge problem. And when he gets frustrated, he cries hard, but he never gives up." His eyes filled. "He's the best thing I've ever done." I didn't realize tears had slipped down my face until I wiped them away. "You're not going to lose him," I said. I didn't know how I knew, but I believed it. When the plane finally landed, Daniel jumped up before the seatbelt sign even turned off. I stood too. "I'll help you get to the hospital," I said. "You don't have to," he replied. "I want to." We rushed off the plane together. Outside, I called a private car. No waiting, no arguing, just action. He looked at me like he didn't understand why I cared. Maybe I didn't fully understand either. "Thank you, Clara," he said quietly before getting into the car. "Go," I told him. "Ethan needs you." Then he was gone. I stood alone with my luggage, watching the car disappear. My chest felt strange, like something had been pulled out and left open. The hotel room felt too quiet, too clean, too empty. I sat on the bed staring at my phone. Daniel's number glowed on the screen. I waited 20 minutes before I finally typed, "How is Ethan?" The reply came fast. "Fever broke. He's sleeping. Doctor says he'll be okay." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Without thinking, I typed again, "Which hospital?" I didn't wait for his answer. I grabbed my coat and ordered another car. The hospital smelled of medicine and quiet hope. Bright lights, soft footsteps, whispers in hallways. Room 312. Daniel sat in a chair beside the bed, holding a small hand. His eyes looked tired and red. On the bed lay Ethan, small, pale, breathing steady. The red toy airplane rested near his fingers. Daniel looked up when he saw me. "You came." "I couldn't focus knowing you were here," I said lightly. I handed him a bag. Inside were sandwiches, coffee, and a teddy bear. For a second, he just stared. Then Ethan moved. He opened his eyes slowly and looked at me. "Are you Daddy's friend?" he asked in a weak voice. "I guess I am," I smiled. "Your dad told me all about you. He says you like dinosaurs." He wrinkled his nose. "Used to. I like space now. Saturn has 62 moons." 62, I laughed. "That's too many. I can barely manage one schedule." He giggled.
Daniel watched us, something soft in his eyes. Hours passed. We joked, we talked. Nurses smiled when they passed. Later, when Ethan slept again, Daniel and I sat quietly. "I've built walls my whole life," I admitted. "Everything in my world has a price, but watching you with him made me remember what real love looks like." Daniel reached out and touched my hand gently. Morning light slipped through the blinds. Daniel went to his interview. I stayed. When he came back, he stood at the door watching me help Ethan color planets. "I got the job," he said. Ethan clapped. "See, Daddy? The plane helped." Daniel laughed and looked at me. "Maybe it did." "Friendship," I suggested. "In friends," he agreed. But we both felt it. It was already more, and neither of us was ready to walk away.
The weeks after that felt unreal, like my life had quietly shifted onto a different path without asking permission. I flew back to Boston, back to meetings, boardrooms, and deadlines. But something inside me was different. My phone became my most important possession, not for emails, for video calls. Ethan insisted on showing me everything: his drawings, his Lego rockets, his cardboard space helmet. He held the toy airplane up to the camera like a trophy. "It worked," he said proudly. "Daddy got the job because of this." I laughed every time. Of course he did. That airplane is powerful. Daniel would sit behind him, smiling quietly. Watching them together made my chest feel warm in a way I didn't understand yet. Soon, calls turned into visits. I started booking weekend flights to Seattle. I told my team they were business trips. Daniel teased me about it. "You know you don't have to lie," he said once. "I'm not lying," I smiled. "I am doing business, just personal business." Every visit felt like stepping into a different world. We walked in parks. Ethan ran ahead with his cape flying behind him. We had simple dinners at Daniel's apartment, nothing fancy, just laughter and messy plates and stories. I didn't need high-end restaurants. I didn't need wine lists. I needed this. Back in Boston, I changed things. I started pushing remote work policies, flexible schedules. My board praised me for being modern. They didn't know the truth. I wanted time. Time to fly to Seattle. Time to sit on the floor and build cardboard rockets. Time to hear Daniel laugh in real life. Slowly, Seattle stopped feeling like a place I visited. It started to feel like home. 1 year passed quietly. That night, I hosted my first company gala in Seattle. The ballroom was bright and elegant. I stood on stage reading my speech. Then I saw them. Daniel in a black suit, Ethan in a tiny bow tie, hiding something behind his back. My heart stopped. Ethan ran up the steps and handed me a painting. 3 people holding hands under a starry sky, Saturn glowing above us. "That's us," he said proudly. "We're a family now, right?" My knees hit the floor as I hugged him. "Yes," I whispered, "we are." Then Daniel stepped forward. He knelt. "4 hours on a plane changed my whole life," he said. "I want to keep flying with you, through storms and clear skies. Will you marry us?" Ethan jumped. "Say yes, I already told everyone." Tears blurred everything. "Yes," I said, "always yes." Months later, we married by the lake. Ethan was our ring bearer. The red airplane sat on the gift table like a lucky charm. 3 years passed. Our life wasn't perfect. We argued. We laughed. We adopted a dog named Saturn. Ethan grew taller, but the airplane stayed on his nightstand. One night, I stood in his doorway watching him sleep. Daniel wrapped his arm around me. "I'm pregnant," I whispered. He froze, then smiled like a kid. We held each other quietly. Outside, a plane crossed the sky. I smiled. "It all started up there. And it's still flying," he whispered. And it was.
Life after that didn't turn into a fairy tale, but it became something better, something real. Mornings were loud. Ethan arguing about school, Saturn barking at squirrels outside the window, Daniel burning toast while trying to pack lunches. I used to wake up to silence in my penthouse. Now I woke up to chaos and smiles, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. My company kept growing, but I learned how to close my laptop, how to leave meetings early, how to sit on the floor and listen to stories about space battles and superhero dreams. Seattle was home now. One evening I stood in Ethan's doorway again, just like before. He was older now, 9 years old, legs too long for his bed, hair messy from sleep. The Saturn nightlight glowed softly beside him. The red airplane was still in his hand. Daniel came up behind me, slipping his arm around my waist. "He's growing too fast," he whispered. I smiled. "Still calls Saturn Saturn instead of Saturn." He chuckled. "I hope he never stops." We stood there quietly, watching our son sleep. Then I took a breath. My heart raced like it did on that first flight. "I went to the doctor today," I said softly. Daniel stiffened. "Everything okay?" I turned to him. "I'm pregnant." For a second, he just stared at me. Then his eyes filled. He pulled me into his arms, laughing quietly so he wouldn't wake Ethan. "You're serious?" he whispered. I nodded. 7 months from now, Ethan gets to be a big brother. He pressed his forehead to mine. "Another adventure." "The best one," I replied. We stood there, hands over my stomach, watching our sleeping boy. Outside, a plane crossed the dark sky, its lights blinking softly. I followed it with my eyes. I remembered the exhaustion, the fear, the moment my head fell onto a stranger's shoulder. What started as an accident became everything. I squeezed Daniel's hand. It all began up there. He kissed my temple, and it's still flying. In that quiet house, with a sleeping boy, a future growing inside me, and a man who once was just a stranger at Gate 17, I finally understood. Some journeys are not about where you land. They're about who you become. And ours was far from over. It was only getting started.